The remarkable stories of Enoch and Elijah, taken by God. In the sweeping narrative of the Bible, amidst the countless stories of faith, trials, and redemption, two figures stand apart for the extraordinary manner of their departure from this world. These two men, Enoch and Elijah, hold the distinction of being taken to God without experiencing death. Their lives and stories are both intriguing and inspiring, offering deep lessons about faith, obedience, and the intimate relationship humans can have with their Creator. The life of Enoch, a walk with God. Enoch's story begins in the early chapters of Genesis, where he is introduced as a descendant of Adam, the seventh generation in the lineage. Enoch lived during a time of rapid population growth and increasing moral corruption. The world, still reeling from the consequences of the fall of Adam and Eve, was gradually descending into violence and wickedness. Yet, in the midst of this, Enoch's life shone as a beacon of faithfulness. The Bible tells us in Genesis 5:21-24, when Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. After he became the father of Methuselah, it is worth noting that Methuselah is cited as the man that lived the longest in the Bible, reaching 969 years. Now back to the story. Enoch walked faithfully with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Enoch walked faithfully with God. Then he was no more because God took him away. What stands out is the phrase, walked faithfully with God. This indicates a life of daily communion, surrender, and devotion to the Creator. It suggests that Enoch's relationship with God was not limited to rituals or moments of prayer, but was a continuous, heartfelt journey. His faithfulness extended beyond personal piety to encompass every aspect of his life, his family, his community, and his actions. Imagine the challenges Enoch must have faced in a world increasingly distant from God. To walk faithfully with God for 300 years required remarkable perseverance. Enoch's life was a countercultural testimony showing that it was possible to live righteously even in the midst of widespread sin. Enoch's role as the father of Methuselah also holds symbolic significance. Methuselah's name is often interpreted to mean, "When he dies, it will come," referring to the coming flood in Noah's time. This connection underscores Enoch's prophetic understanding of God's plans and his role in preparing future generations for what was to come. The New Testament provides further insight into Enoch's life. Hebrews 11:5-6 states, "By faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away." But what does this mean? Ultimately, the Bible does not provide detailed specifics about how Enoch was taken, leaving the event shrouded in mystery. Interpretations made from these are as follows. 1. Many believe that Enoch did not experience physical death, but was instead directly translated into God's presence. This idea is supported by the phrase that he did not experience death. It's thought that God might have supernaturally transported Enoch, much like the later account of Elijah being taken up in a chariot of fire, 2 Kings 2:11. 2. Symbolic interpretation. Some theologians suggest that this account could be symbolic, indicating that Enoch's life was so intertwined with God that his death was seen as a direct passage into God's presence. 3. A glimpse of eternal life. In Christian theology, Enoch's translation is sometimes viewed as a foreshadowing of the ultimate hope for believers, eternal life and victory over death, as described in passages like 1 Corinthians 15:51-54. 4. Mystical or supernatural event. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Jewish text, not included in the Standard Bible, gives more details describing Enoch as someone who was taken to heaven to learn divine mysteries. While the Book of Enoch is not included in the Bible we read today, it highlights how ancient people viewed this event as extraordinary and supernatural. How do you think Enoch was taken by God? Let us know in the comments section, and remember to subscribe to Bible Storybook. We love your feedback. The time of Elijah, a prophet of power. Elijah's story, in contrast to Enoch's, is filled with dramatic encounters and public displays of God's power. Elijah emerges on the scene in 1 Kings 17 during a dark period in Israel's history. The northern kingdom under King Ahab and Queen Jezebel had turned away from the Lord and embraced the worship of Baal, a Canaanite deity. This idolatry brought moral and spiritual corruption to the nation. Elijah's ministry begins with a bold proclamation: "As the Lord, the God of Israel, lives whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word." 1 Kings 17:1. This declaration of a drought was not only a judgment on Israel's unfaithfulness, but also a direct challenge to Baal, who was considered the god of rain and fertility. During the drought, Elijah experienced God's miraculous provision. At the Cherith ravine, he was fed by ravens and drank from a brook. Later, he stayed with a widow in Zarephath, where God multiplied her supply of flour and oil to sustain them throughout the famine. When the widow's son died, Elijah's prayers brought him back to life, demonstrating God's power over death. One of the most iconic moments in Elijah's ministry is the contest on Mount Carmel, 1 Kings 18. In a dramatic confrontation, Elijah challenges the prophets of Baal to a test of divine power. They build altars and prepare sacrifices, calling on their gods to send fire. Despite their frantic efforts, Baal remains silent. Then Elijah prays to the Lord, and fire falls from heaven, consuming the sacrifice, the altar, and even the water surrounding it. The people fall to their knees, declaring, "The Lord, He is God." Yet Elijah's journey was not without struggles. After this incredible victory, Jezebel's threat on his life drives him into the wilderness, where he prays for death. In his despair, Elijah feels isolated and defeated, but God meets him in a profound way. At Mount Horeb, God reveals himself not in a powerful wind, earthquake, or fire, but in a gentle whisper. This encounter reassures Elijah that he is not alone and that God's work will continue through him and others. Elijah's fiery departure. Elijah's life concludes with one of the most extraordinary events in the Bible. In 2 Kings 2, he and his disciple Elisha journey together, knowing that Elijah's time on earth is drawing to a close. As they cross the Jordan River, Elijah parts the waters with his cloak, symbolizing God's power and his prophetic authority. Suddenly, as they walk and talk, a chariot of fire and horses of fire appear, separating the two. Elijah is taken up to heaven in a whirlwind, leaving Elisha behind. This dramatic departure not only underscores Elijah's unique relationship with God, but also serves as a testament to God's power and sovereignty. Elijah's ascension is a precursor to later biblical themes, including the hope of resurrection and eternal life. It also solidifies Elijah's role as a forerunner of the Messiah, as he is later mentioned in Malachi 4, 5, 6, and appears alongside Moses during the transfiguration of Jesus, Matthew 17:3. Do you believe in life after death? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. All opinions and perspectives are welcomed, comparing Enoch and Elijah. While Enoch and Elijah's stories differ in detail, they share profound similarities. Both men lived in times of widespread sin, yet remained faithful to God. Both were taken from this world in extraordinary ways, bypassing death entirely. Their lives demonstrate the rewards of walking closely with God and fulfilling his purposes. Enoch's quiet, faithful devotion contrasts with Elijah's bold, confrontational ministry. Yet both lives were marked by obedience, courage, and unwavering faith. Their stories remind us that God uses individuals in unique ways to accomplish his will. Lessons for today. The lives of Enoch and Elijah offer timeless lessons for believers. 1. Faithfulness in all circumstances. Enoch's steady walk with God and Elijah's bold prophetic ministry show that faithfulness is possible in any context. 2. The power of faith. Both men demonstrated the transformative power of faith. Enoch's faith pleased God, and Elijah's faith brought fire from heaven. 3. God's presence in our lives. Enoch walked closely with God, and Elijah experienced God's provision and reassurance. Both stories highlight the importance of a personal relationship with God. 4. Eternal perspective. The unique departures of Enoch and Elijah point to the reality of life beyond this world. Their stories encourage us to live with an eternal perspective, knowing that our faithfulness has lasting significance. 5. Trusting God's plan. Enoch and Elijah's lives remind us that God's plans are perfect, even when they defy human understanding. Whether through quiet devotion or dramatic action, we are called to trust him completely. As we reflect on the lives of Enoch and Elijah, we are inspired to examine our own walk with God. Are we seeking him earnestly? Are we living lives that reflect his character and fulfill his purposes? Are we prepared to trust him, even when the path is unclear? The stories of Enoch and Elijah remind us that a life devoted to God is never wasted. Whether we are called to a quiet life of faithfulness or a bold life of action, let us strive to walk with God, knowing that he is with us every step of the way. I hope that today's video has been a blessing to you. Support this channel by simply subscribing and clicking the bell to get a notification every time we upload here on Bible Storybook. God bless you.